Like what you see here? Then be sure to subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8, a channel devoted to the history of college football. New videos drop twice a week. Click the card in the upper right corner or the link in the description to subscribe now. And now, on with our feature presentation. This player right here is none other than Raul Mondesi. All things considered, he had a very good career in Major League Baseball, as any time you can play in the big leagues for 13 seasons and rack up over 1,500 hits, you clearly did something right. Mondesi started off his career with the Los Angeles Dodgers, where he played 7 seasons and was the team's starting right fielder. He made an immediate impact when in 1994, he won the National League Rookie of the Year by hitting .306. Not only did he win this award, but he won it unanimously. As of the 28 first-place votes, they all went to him. He followed that up in 1995 with an appearance in the MLB All-Star Game and a Gold Glove, and he won another Gold Glove in 1997 while also receiving some votes for MVP. How or why he got votes that year, let alone more votes than Pedro Martinez of the Montreal Expos, who had a 1.90 ERA and won the Cy Young, I have no clue. But regardless, Mondesi was a very good player for a very long period of time. However, in his 13-year career, perhaps the craziest story comes not from his 7 seasons with the Dodgers, or his 3 seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays, or even his 2 seasons with the New York Yankees. Rather, it comes with this team right here, in the 45 games that he played in 2003 as a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Yeah, when you think of Mondesi, I'm pretty sure the D-backs aren't the first team, the second team, or even the third team that comes to mind. But the story of how Mondesi got to Arizona in the first place is absolutely crazy. Sure, the trade itself was nothing too noteworthy, but rather, it was what happened after the trade when he first arrived that was insanely climatic and insanely chaotic. Because imagine that you're all set to playing your first game with your new team. You're penciled in on the lineup card, and as the team is arriving to the stadium and is at batting practice, you're not there, because you're still on the plane. Because this is the story behind Raul Mondesi, and what might just be, considering the circumstances, the craziest debut in the over quarter-century-long history of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Before I talk about Mondesi and what happened with regards to his crazy arrival in Arizona, we need some context to understand why Mondesi was even traded to the desert in the first place. The year is 2003, and Mondesi is in pinstripes, playing up in New York with the New York Yankees. Now, as good of a player as Mondesi was in the 90s, with all of those aforementioned accolades, he was a bit of a head case by this point in his career. Part of the reason why he was with the Yankees in the first place was because he was a major problem in Toronto, to the point where the Blue Jays traded him for a minor league reliever, giving up literally nothing just so that he wouldn't be there anymore. Seriously, that reliever was Scott Wiggins, who pitched 2.2 innings in his entire MLB career. That's how much of a head case Mondesi was. He was late for a team meeting and got benched because of it, and then ripped his manager afterwards for benching him, which led to him getting benched again. But Yankees manager Joe Torre was insistent that everything was going to be just fine with him wearing the pinstripes, saying, "We have a diverse group in our clubhouse. We don't try to change personalities." Yeah, about that. Long story short, Mondesi never fit in while he was in New York, and over the last month of his Yankee career, from the end of June until the end of July, he was a complete liability out there, as in that 19-game stretch, he hit just .167, and got on base just 15 times in 66 plate appearances. Sure, the Yankees were winning games in that stretch, since they were the Yankees, and they did manage to go 12-7 over those 19 games. But that was in spite of him, and not because of him. And along with the poor play, he was becoming a major distraction in the clubhouse, and had no desire to remain a Yankee. Because after Mondesi got pinch hit for not once, but twice in a span of 2 games during a series against the Red Sox where he went 1 for 10, he just flat out left the team, leaving Fenway Park and not flying with the team to Anaheim for their series against the Angels. Said General Manager Brian Cashman on Mondesi's tantrum, "I just need our players to respect our manager's decisions, even if they don't agree with them." Combine that with Mondesi losing the respect of his teammates, with catcher Jorge Posada saying, to see a guy leave before the game is over is, well, you're not supposed to do that. You've got to have a little more respect for your teammates. And with shortstop Derek Jeter saying, there are always rules on every team, and you want everyone to be on the same page. It wasn't a situation where it was all right to just leave. You have to respect the manager. And he had to go. And then, combine that with another outburst that Mondesi had earlier in the month of July, where Mondesi cursed out the Yankees for platooning him, saying, nobody said anything the first 2 months of the season when no one was hitting besides Soriano and me. There's no reason for this. And adding, I only have 3 months left. I'll sign and play somewhere else next year. And yeah, the writing was on the wall. He had to be traded. And that's where the team down in the desert comes into play. Because the Arizona Diamondbacks, after starting the season 54-42 and being right in the thick of things for the playoff picture, had fallen on hard times. And that's putting it lightly. The D-backs had dropped 9 of their last 11 games to fall to 56-51, going from 5 games back in the division to 11 games back, basically conceding the division to the San Francisco Giants. And they were struggling to get any runs whatsoever, as in that 11-game stretch, they were shut out twice, and scored just 16 runs, scoring more than 2 runs just once in that stretch. It was an anemic offensive display, and wherever the Diamondbacks could get run support, they would take it. With that, the D-backs and Yankees made a trade, with Mondesi going to the D-backs in exchange for 3 players, utility man John Mark Sproul, who never made it to the majors, outfielder David DeLucci, who played 21 games in New York and hit 176, and relief pitcher Brett Prinz, who made 26 appearances with the Yankees and had an ERA just under 6. So it's not like the Yankees got anything good out of this trade. Still, the Diamondbacks were hoping, and understandably so, that Mondesi could be the spark that this team needed. As their GM said, we're very pleased that we were able to make this deal. Raul Mondesi is a terrific offensive player, and we needed a terrific offensive player, because we are struggling to score runs. I think that's a fair assessment. To get Raul Mondesi back to the National League, competing against the Giants and Dodgers and teams he competed against when he was with the Dodgers, I have a hunch that will get him fired up. So with the trade completed on July 29th, you'd think that Mondesi would be in the starting lineup and ready to go for their game on July 30th, which was a nationally televised game on ESPN against the Florida Marlins. You would think that would be the case, right? Well, if that was, then let's be honest. This would be a complete non-story. A player is disgruntled and wants out, and ends up getting traded. There is nothing unique or special about that. But this was a bit different, because Mondesi missed his flight on Tuesday night that he was supposed to take in order to make it down to Miami for the game. Alright, no big deal. Obviously, a missed flight stinks, but maybe the trade was found out too late, and it was way too late to make it to the airport in time, especially with New York traffic. Plus, maybe there weren't any great flights in terms of the time. You can just take a flight on Wednesday and make it down to Miami in time. No issue whatsoever. No harm, no foul. Get off the plane and go to work, just like a ton of people do when they travel for business. The game starts at 7 o'clock, and the flight is supposed to get in at 4 o'clock. So if he gets in, even with rush hour traffic factored in, which might not even be as bad since a Diamondbacks official could easily pick him up and take him in the HOV lane, he should be at the stadium by 5 o'clock, easily making it in time for batting practice and to be inserted into the starting lineup. The weather was fine, the plane ride there was fine, and Mondesi landed in Miami at 4 o'clock, right on schedule. Everything was good to go for Mondesi to make his D-backs debut live on national television. Except there was a problem, because when the plane landed, there was no gate. That's right, despite the plane landing on time, Miami International Airport did not have a gate ready for the plane. That meant that Mondesi was just sitting on the runway, hopelessly waiting for some sort of movement. What started off as a brief delay turned into a hopeless waiting game, with minutes ticking away like that. 4 o'clock went to 4:10, which went to 4:20, which went to 4:30, which went to 4:40. Finally, At 4:45, about 45 minutes after the plane touched down in Miami, a gate opened up, and Mondesi was able to get off the plane. But at this point, time was of the essence. The Diamondbacks were preparing for Mondesi to be in the lineup. Heck, manager Bob Brenly even had a lineup card ready to go with Mondesi's name in the starting lineup. We don't know what airline Mondesi took, but a giant screw-up there with some confusion at the gate was putting this anticipated debut in serious jeopardy. Alright, so the plane finally got into a gate at 4:45, meaning that by the time Mondesi got his bags and everything, you had to assume that it was sometime around 5:15. And by that point, he ran into another problem known as rush hour traffic. Maybe at 4 o'clock in the HOV lane, if the plane got to the gate on time, it wouldn't have been a huge issue. But at 5:15, forget about it. It's not saving you, especially when the airport is just under 20 miles from the stadium. This meant that what should have been a normal commute turned out to be the exact opposite, and Mondesi didn't arrive at the ballpark until 6:44 p.m., after the lineup card had already been turned in, and just minutes before the national anthem was to be played. Mondesi's debut, thanks to a missed flight, a second flight that didn't get to the gate in time, and a traffic jam, would have to be put on hold. Or would it? Because at the top of the 8th inning, the Diamondbacks were trailing 2-1, and leading off was supposed to be the relief pitcher, Oscar Villarreal, who just pitched a 9-pitch, 1-2-3 inning in the bottom of the 7th after relieving Randy Johnson. Obviously, you're not going to have your relief pitcher batting in a 1-run game to lead off the inning, so it was time for the Diamondbacks to call on a pinch hitter. And with that, they called on the man who only arrived at the stadium minutes before the game was set to take place, who didn't even take batting practice, and while the team was warming up, was sitting on a plane, waiting for the plane to pull into the gate. Enter Raul Mondesi.
I think our audience would definitely prefer that. One soft bounce, it gets to Castillo on the infield. Aside from the Dontrell Willis story, the saga of how Raul Mondesi got here tonight, and this is him getting here to just about 6:44 this evening. Checking the watch. This was a little bit later after Bob Brenly had to scratch him from the starting lineup, but getting some handshakes and congrats from his brand new teammates on the Diamondback bench. He had some trouble out at Miami Airport. He was sitting on a tarmac there for well over an hour.
Okay, so that didn't go quite as planned, as it was a routine one-hopper to second for an easy 4-3 out, as the Diamondbacks would go on to lose the game 3-1, with the team's offensive woes continuing following the sweep at the hands of the Marlins. As for how this rental trade worked out, well, it was a mixed bag. On one hand, the Diamondbacks gave up absolutely nothing. Again, even though they gave up 3 players, none of them amounted to anything. And Mondesi actually played well in the desert. Maybe he just needed a change of scenery, because he was playing every day, and not only did he hit over 300 with Arizona, but there was one stretch from August 6th to September 14th where he was one of the hottest hitters in baseball from a batting average standpoint, as he was hitting .342. He actually provided somewhat of a spark at the bottom of the order. However, Mondesi would leave the team after the 2003 season, and the trade was clearly designed with the intent of making the playoffs, which did not happen, as the D-backs finished the season with a record of 84-78, 16 games behind the San Francisco Giants for the NL West crown, and 7 games behind the Florida Marlins for the wild card. In fact, the D-backs only had the 9th best record in the National League that year, being closer to the bottom of the league than the top of the league. So he got pretty decent production out of a player for 2 months, but he left after that, and he didn't make the playoffs or improve as a team, but he gave up nothing of value. So, mixed bag, I'd say. Relatively inconsequential trade in the grand scheme of things. But that still doesn't take away from just how bizarre and just how strange his debut with the Diamondbacks was. Because in terms of making a first impression, I think it's safe to say that at least when it comes to the quarter-century-long history of the Arizona Diamondbacks, it's tough to top this one. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com. And be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL Trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.